Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Gettysburg College for another edition of Facebook Live. It's our final fall preview this afternoon. Thank you for joining us. My name is Braden Snyder, and today we're joined by the team captains of the Gettysburg College women's cross-country team. The Bullets are coming off a season in which they finished 5th at the Centennial Conference Championship and 12th out of 51 teams at the NCAA Mid-East Regional. The Bullets will look to improve upon those performances this year as they return a strong core of 14 runners from last year's team. Seated to my right is Alyra Parker. She is a senior from Reading, Pennsylvania. She's entering her 4th year with the team this year and has competed in 19 cross-country races for the Bullets over her career. She's also a member of the Gettysburg track and field team, competing as a steeplechase competitor, as well as middle distance runner as well. In the classroom, she is an individualized major in comparative human rights studies. See, to my left is Elizabeth Hilfrank. She is a senior from Norfolk, Massachusetts. She has made her mark as one of the top performers in the Centennial Conference and the region during her career. Last season, she placed 17th at the Centennial Conference Championship before placing 20th at the NCAA Mid-East Regional, earning all-region status. She's also a member of the track team here at Gettysburg, competing in the long-distance events. And like Alyra, she is an individual major specializing in writing and performing media. So welcome, Alyra, and welcome, Elizabeth. Thanks for taking your time out here on a Friday afternoon on race day. That's your first meet coming up later tonight. So at this point, I guess it's been 2 weeks now since you've had to spend with the team. I guess, off the top, what are the first impressions? Let's you start there, Alyra.
Okay. We definitely have a strong team going into it with 5 freshman girls and 10 freshman guys. So just getting used to running together as a team and being positive.
Yeah, Elizabeth, anything you'd like to add to what you've seen from the team here in the early going?
Yeah, so far I think both Alyra and I have been really pleased with what we've seen from the team. All of our returning members came back in great shape. They're already beating times from last year's alumni race to this year's and time trials. And everyone's been really confident and happy, and I think we're going to have a great season.
Speaking of cross-country, I know we mentioned at the top, both of you also compete in track and field, and I think sometimes maybe to the common observer, somebody who isn't necessarily as up on cross-country or track, the two sports kind of get blended together a little bit, I think, at least in the minds of some. It just seems like running, you know. But what would you say as cross-country and track athletes, what are some of the, I guess, the unique aspects of cross-country maybe that you enjoy the most?
I would definitely say cross-country is more of a team sport. There's a lot of pack running, and you're always running with a team at all times, whereas track can be a little more personal, individualized. I'm running in heats. Sometimes you can be by yourself or with a teammate, so I definitely enjoy the pack running aspect of cross-country.
Elizabeth, anything you would want to add to that?
Sure. For me, I think a big difference between cross-country and track is the course. As you said, I run the long-distance events on the track, and certainly running a 5K on the track is different than in the woods when you're dealing with hills, gravel, rocks, a lot of different elements. A few times we've had some deer come out and hit some girls running, so I think there's just a whole nother aspect that people don't realize in the cross-country side.
I don't know, up until this point, has the team taken the time to discuss goals for the year, either at the championship meets or just throughout the year? Have you talked about goals much so far?
Some of our goals would definitely be to try to win our Gettysburg invite and to definitely place higher at the conference meet, which we're hosting this year. So a lot of pressure there.
Hey, led me right into the next question. During the men's Facebook Live chat, we talked about how Gettysburg will be, as you say, the host of the Centennial Conference Championship this year. So as a competitor, what will that be like having that meet at home as opposed to going on the road as you have the last 3 years?
Well, I think we definitely have the home course advantage this year. We've already been out on our home course at least 3 times practicing different parts of it. So I know Coach Schenk will really focus on that. So we have that advantage of knowing where the turns are, where the little trip-up areas are. Additionally, that weekend is Parents' Weekend, so we anticipate to have a lot of crowds and audience, which always enhances the mood and that's what we really like about the Gettysburg invite. So to have that conferences when it's even bigger meet, more important, having that support will be really great. And also just the fact that we can sleep in a little later and not have to take a bus somewhere early in the morning will, I think, be really beneficial.
Staying on the topic of the Centennial Conference, can we talk a little bit about, I guess, what it's like to compete in such an incredibly competitive conference? Looking at last year's results, Johns Hopkins captured the Division III national title on the women's side for the 4th time in 5 years. Dickinson and Haverford also qualified as a team. These are teams that are regularly making appearances at nationals. So what is it like, though, as a competitor, knowing you're going to face that kind of competition pretty much year in, year out?
I think I personally really enjoy being in such a competitive conference. I think it pushes all of us to do better every time. But at the same time, we really try to focus on not looking at the color of the jerseys and just looking at who we're running next to, because it can be easy to kind of psych yourself out when you know you're next to that much talent. But in the end, it is still personal, and you can beat anyone you want.
Alyra, you mentioned talking about goals for the year, talking about winning the Gettysburg Invitational, and we've been talking here about the Centennial Conference Championship, but what other meets throughout the year do you feel the team kind of looks forward to, or maybe enjoys competing in? Maybe kind of circle those meets going into the year.
I think some of the meets that we look forward to going to, Shippensburg, which we're going to tonight, 4K a little bit quicker, so that's exciting, and it's a night race, and definitely Paul Short. That's one of our more exciting races, a fast course, competitive, different competitive teams. I enjoy Cookstown, so yeah.
Like the men's team, one of the things we talked about during their chat the other day was kind of the runners who have passed through the program recently, who have really impacted the team, and some of the standout runners they've had. And it's a similar situation, I think, on the women's side with some of the recent graduates, including Amanda Asaro, who was a front runner throughout her career. We saw her competing at the alumni race, finished just behind Elizabeth, but still is a very strong runner. So, but I would wonder how do you feel you benefit from have benefited from competing with her and some of the other recent graduates who have made such an impact on the team?
Competing with runners like Amanda, Eva, like Gwen, all of those, it definitely gives you something to strive towards, keeps you pushing, and definitely miss them. But huge impact. I think Elizabeth.
Yeah, I mean, touch on that too if you want.
Sure. Personally, training with Amanda for the past 3 seasons, I think has made a really big impact. She was such a hard worker and a perfect example of never letting things get her down and to always push through. And I know during preseason, Amanda, Eva, Gwen, Claire, other Amanda Wyville, all their names were brought up a lot just because they did have such a big impact on the team. They're all really strong leaders. And one of the things they started last year was 2016 vibes, which was always just going into meets and practices in a positive attitude, never complaining about a workout even though you knew it was going to be hard or you were tired. And that's something that we've really tried to continue this year with 2017 vibes, just to keep the morale up. And I think that's something that these runners showed did have success and is something we want to continue.
Well, switching away from running for a moment, as mentioned earlier, both of you are individualized majors, something we don't see a lot here, I guess, amongst our student athletes, but to have two here at the same table is kind of unusual. But so can you talk a little bit about, I guess, what led you to choose that path of being an individual major, and from what you've experienced, I guess what have been some of the advantages to maybe not choosing a traditional major, so to speak?
For me, I found out about the individual major at Get Acquainted Day going at the end of my senior year of high school, and it was one of the reasons I decided to come to Gettysburg. The professor I met that day, James Udden, actually is now my advisor for the major. I knew I wanted to do something journalism related, but I also wanted a small school, and it's really hard to find both. And Gettysburg's allowed me to do both through the individual major of writing and performing media. And I think being able to take theoretical classes, for example, now I'm taking a class that focuses on looking at how violence is portrayed in media and its effect on audience, but then also taking journalistic writing classes, video production classes, has made me much more well-rounded and able to do a variety of media jobs, which has led me to be able to do some internships and things in the summer.
Yeah, Alyra, what can you add to that? What's your experience been like so far as an individualized major in comparative human rights studies?
Yeah, I originally came in thinking I wanted to be a political science major, but after taking a couple of courses, I realized that it wasn't for me, and none of the majors were really sticking out to me, so I went towards the individualized route, and it was challenging but worth it, and it's definitely going to benefit me in the long run. Hopefully attending law school, it'll definitely set me apart from like political science majors, history majors, and so it's definitely a benefit.
Both of you also studied abroad last spring. Elizabeth was in Madrid, Spain, and Alyra was in Kigali, Rwanda. Yep. And Elizabeth, you mentioned that you lived with a host family, traveled to 6 different countries around Spain, ran a half marathon while you were there, so it sounds like you had an interesting experience. Can you just share maybe what your biggest highlights were from your study abroad?
Yeah, so overall it was an amazing experience in everything you said. I am also a Spanish minor, so I was able to finish that up abroad, and I don't think there's any other way you can really perfect a language before you completely immerse yourself, and living with a host family that didn't speak any English was definitely a challenging but successful way to do that. And yeah, I just really enjoyed it. It was my first time in Europe, so being able to country hop on the weekends was amazing, and also just to embrace a whole new culture. Spain's motto is kind of that they work to live, they don't live to work, which is how they see America. So it was a lot slower pace of life, and just very different, but very interesting. And running the half marathon was pretty fun too. So.
And Alyra, anything you would like to share from your study abroad experience? You mentioned that you studied post-genocide restoration and peace building. Sounds very interesting. Can you add to that?
Yeah, some of the highlights I experienced in Rwanda, living with my host family. They were really cool and fun and exciting people. I also visited Uganda while in Rwanda, and got to travel go on the Nile River, so that was thrilling. Go on a safari, and it was my first time out of the country, so quite the experience.
All right, well, as we're winding things down here, just have one more question for each of you. Maybe a two-part question, actually. We've been asking a lot of our athletes we've been interviewing here this week kind of what your favorite part is about the program in which you compete. So I would just ask, number one, what is your favorite part about running cross country in Gettysburg? But also, we know that you run a lot. You're out and about running different routes around the town of Gettysburg. So what would you say is your favorite route, distance running route?
Well, to start, my favorite part of cross country here is the team. We just have such a great team. It's running with your best friends every day. It makes you want to work harder to be better and to help each other and to make not only your teammates but our coaches proud as well. And with that being my favorite route to run with the team is out on the horse trails. I think that's something that really sets Gettysburg apart from other schools in their running, is that we have the option to, one, get off of pounding concrete and pavement all the time, to go into the woods, and also just to be next to the battlefields, especially running them in the evening when the sun's setting. It's just a really pretty view and kind of takes away from the pain or tiredness you may feel over 90 minutes of running. So,
and Alyra, what would you say some of your favorite parts of Gettysburg cross country and your favorite route to run?
Yeah. My favorite parts of, it's going to be a lot of repetition, but also the team, being able to run with the girls that we run with and the guys, all great people. I would also shout out to Coach Shank and Coach Hartzler, super dedicated to the program, and without them, it wouldn't be what it is. And my favorite route to run would definitely be horse trails, like Elizabeth said. Again, running through the battlefields is definitely unique to Gettysburg College.
So there you hear it. Get out to the horse trails. The secret to running in Gettysburg. Well, once again, ladies and gentlemen, Alyra Parker, Elizabeth Hilfrank, senior captains of the Gettysburg College women's cross country team. Thank you once again for taking your time out this afternoon, and good luck this weekend. The Bullets open the season, as we said, tonight under the lights at the Shippensburg Invitational. Gettysburg also competes at 2 home meets this year. If you want to catch them in action here, they compete right on campus at the Gettysburg Invitational. That's Saturday, October 14th. And again, Gettysburg is the host of the Centennial Conference Championship meet. That occurs on Sunday, October 29th. So once again, thank you for following along here this afternoon and throughout this preseason as we bring you our fall teams. So have a great afternoon and go Bullets.